I'm Luke Summerhays, and I love Sandygast. There's a joke among millennials on the internet that the media we consumed as kids made us think quicksand was going to be a much bigger danger than it ended up being in our real lives. In adventure stories, our heroes often found themselves in perilous sandpits, sinking slowly, knowing that to struggle would only hasten their demise. So far, in my visits to beaches, deserts, or children's parks, none of the sand has tried to swallow me. Of course, the sands of a desert or a beach can have plenty of other dangers. Fearsome creatures, shifting tides, storms and dehydration. Not to mention the supernatural. Sirens luring one out to sea, Jinn playing tricks in the mirages, the mummy summoning sandy behemoths, or the Sandman smothering Spider-Man. Sandygast is not quite any of those things just yet. It's a ground and ghost type pile of sand, at the very earliest stage of being constructed into some kind of castle. With what may one day be windows as eyes, and a sort of door forming a huge mouth. All of this is topped off by a shovel in its head. Palossand tells us, born from a sand mound playfully built by a child, this Pokemon embodies the grudges of the departed. The name, Sandygast, is pretty literal about being a sand ghost. The Japanese name, Tsunaba, is the same as the Japanese word for a sandpit, but with the added bonus of sounding like Ba, the Japanese version of Boo. Pokemon Ultra Sun tells us, it likes the shovel on its head, so Sandygast will get serious and fight any children who come to take it back. And Pokemon Violet tells us, it flings sand into the eyes of its prey, and tries to close in on them while they're blinded. But since Sandygast is so slow, the prey tends to escape. I often hear requests for people not to stack rocks in nature, or leave other things which can collapse and hurt wild animals. Some Sandygast Pokédex entries read like a story parents made up to convince their children to be careful after building sandcastles. Ultra Moon tells us, if you build sand mounds when you're playing, destroy them before you go home, or they may get possessed and become Sandygast. Of course, in the Pokemon world, ghost stories can turn out to be true. And they can get even more dangerous when, at level 42, Sandygast evolves into Palossand. Palossand resembles a completed sandcastle, with crenellations at the top and with two towers acting as limbs beside the central keep. Some of Sandygast's Pokédex entries mention that it would control anyone who put their hands into its mouth, making them add more sand to its bulk. Palossand expands on that. Pokemon Sun tells us, possessed people controlled by this Pokemon transformed its sand mound into a castle. As it evolved, its power to curse grew ever stronger. And it even takes a step further and darker in Pokemon Moon's Pokédex entry. Buried beneath the castle are masses of dried up bones from those whose vitality it has drained. Palossand gained those victims by being the embodiment of the fear of quicksand I talked about at the top of the episode. Pokemon Sword tells us, Palossand is known as the beach nightmare. It pulls its prey down into the sand by controlling the sand itself, and then it sucks out their souls. The name, Palossand, could be as simple as a palace made of sand, though the word los is in there, and it sounds a little like colossal. Plus, the Spanish for shovel is pala. The Japanese name, Shirodesna, could mean something as innocuous as, that's a castle, isn't it? Shirodesne. Or it could be deliberately including the word death in the middle there. All of this sounds quite spooky and deadly so far, but Pokemon Shield tells us, This Pokemon lives on beaches, but it hates water. Palossand can't maintain its castle-like shape if it gets drenched by a heavy rain. In fact, with the ability Water Compaction, this weakness becomes a strength. After being hit by a water attack, Palossand's defenses will actually rise. Prior to this, defense was already Palossand's highest stat, but after, it can be genuinely ridiculous. I haven't made a sandcastle in the sand for a long time. Maybe longer ago than I last thought about quicksand. I wouldn't mind a trip to the beach this summer, or even making a ghostly new pal. Music for Luke Loves Pokemon was composed by Jonathan Cromie. Artwork for the show is by Katie Groves. Funding is by supporters at patreon.com/podcastiopodcastius. I love hearing from listeners. Get in touch on YouTube, social media, or email, and let me know about your favourite monsters. Coming up next are Pyukumuku and Type Null, so let me know your thoughts about those or any other monsters. And even if you don't feel like doing any of that, thank you so much just for listening. I love Sandygast, and remember, I love you too.